Hi, I'm Stephanie and let's talk books. So today it is time for another Wheel of Time reading update. I had set a goal in 2019 of working my way through the entire Wheel of Time series. So today we are going to chat about how far I got in the series, what my thoughts are, and what books have I enjoyed or not so far. So at my last update, I was almost all the way through book 7, A Crown of Swords. So I'm going to be talking about the books that I have read since then. So I have finished A Crown of Swords, Path of Daggers, Winter's Heart, which I do not have a physical copy of, Crossroads of Twilight, and the prequel, New Spring. So this might sound kind of obvious, but spoiler warning for Wheel of Time, I'm going to be talking about potential spoilers from book 1 through book 10, plus the prequel. So if you haven't gotten that far, go away and come back when you finish. I have an earlier Wheel of Time update where I'm talking about books 1 through most of 7. I'll leave that linked up in the cards. You can go check that one out and come back to this video once you have made it through book 10. So this is the section of the series lovingly known by many of the fans as the Slog. And after reading through these books, I agree, it's kind of a rough section of the series. Well, we're gonna throw this one out first and chat about Slog. So I found the Crown of Swords to be kind of meandering. There was a lot of filler stuff and not a ton of stuff going on, and there was a big build up to this epic confrontation, and I kept waiting and waiting and waiting. I'm like, all right, so maybe the beginning and the middle of this book aren't so great, but maybe he'll give us an amazing Sanderson type ending, and I'll be like, whoa, I can't believe that he was building up to this great epic finale, and it was awesome. Only I kept getting closer and closer to the ending, and I'm like, when's it gonna start? When's the battle happening? Are we saving it for the next book? I don't know. And then I blinked and it happened and it was done. So I really felt like that was kind of a letdown. I feel like Robert Jordan in the several books preceding this one did a really good job of making sure that even if there were some slower points in the book, the ending was really strong, and then when you got to the end, you felt that working through those not so great parts were totally worth it, and here is where I feel like he started to not be able to deliver on that promise of an epic ending. So then I moved on to the Path of Daggers. This one was very, very rough for me to get through. In this book, we spend a lot of time following side and support characters, and there's a lot of political maneuvering and stuff that's going on, and we don't get to spend a lot of time with the main characters and the ones that we really have an emotional connection to, and we actually care about what happens. At this point in the series, there are a lot of named characters, and as a first-time reader, there's no way that I could pay attention and remember them all, even if I was taking notes, which I'm not, and I really just wish that Robert Jordan had kind of trimmed his cast of characters down a little bit so it would be a little bit more manageable. One of the big things that I did not like about this book is there's no Matt. Matt is completely gone for the entire book. This is something that Robert Jordan has done in other books, but we were left off with such a kind of a cliffhangery ending for Matt. And one of the things that really bothered me is that some of the other characters knew about where we left off with Matt, and they didn't even bother thinking about him in the book. Nobody ever sat down and was like, man, we haven't heard anything from Matt. I wonder if he's okay, if he's alive. I'm concerned. Oh my gosh, it's my friend and he could be dead. No, they don't care. Nobody cares what happens to Matt. He's just not here. And look, there's a lot of space in this book. There's a lot of space. Not to mention, it's a good 350, 400 pages shorter than a lot of the other books. So you could have given us some Matt. I need some Matt. I like Matt now. I want to know about Matt. So I didn't feel like A lot of things happen in this book. Again, I felt like the ending was really rushed and not done very well. And again, he had space. He could have taken the space to work on these things and have a better ending and something in there for Matt, but chose not to, and instead we spent a lot of time with characters that we don't care about. So the next one was Winter's Heart, and I actually really did enjoy Winter's Heart. I appreciated the fact that we spent the majority of this book with our main characters, and I felt like there was finally some movement and momentum on some of these plot points, and we can start to see things happening. So while I did get real tired real fast of Robert Jordan continuing to talk about the weather all the time, at least it's a different season. We finally made it to winter, and we did get to see some stuff happening. So this one, for me, I really enjoyed. So I got really excited, and I thought, maybe I'm through the slog already, and I'm through the worst part of the series, and the rest of it's just going to be awesome. And then we get to Crossroads Twilight, which read a lot like Path of Daggers. Again, a lot of time that is devoted to side characters. There are not a lot of things that happen in this book. There's not really any progress on any of these open story threads that Robert Jordan has set out for them. Some of them I really care about. For example, Fail has been kidnapped along with several other people for a couple of books now, and all we get is poor Perrin and his crew like wandering around the forests looking for her with his army, trying to find her, crying that his poor wife has been kidnapped, but nothing happens. And then we get this whole plot line where they go to this city where something is weird is happening because they need to buy food for their army, and now we're opening yet another story thread where we have this city which seems maybe to be cursed or something weird is going on, and this whole big drawn out plot thing just so they can buy food for the army. And I'm like, can we please get some progress on the things we've already started before we start some new things? So I really, really hope that some of these side things that Robert Jordan has been spending so much of his page time opening up and developing, that they actually pay off to something in the end of the series. Because at this point, I really, really wish that he had edited a lot of it down. And I think there's still a possibility that some of these things could have really big payoffs, and I can, when I get to the end of the series, be like, oh yeah, I totally get why he had it in there. But right now, I'm just like, there's so much stuff going on that I don't care about that it sometimes makes it difficult for me to remember the things that I do care about, because nothing happens or we don't get to see those characters at all. I also took this time to read New Spring, which is the prequel, and it's super short, which I very much appreciated. Some of the things that I liked about this book were that it was a nice way to see how the world operates in a normal situation, as opposed to during the events of the main series, where we're kind of in the impending doom, the world's gonna end mode. And so we got to see a lot of bits of Aes Sedai life that we hadn't gotten to see in the series because of just the chaos going on with all the things that are happening. And when things happen, sometimes you don't do things by the book. And that's what the Aes Sedai have been doing. But here we get to see some of that. There were a lot of name dropping of Aes Sedai who we have seen in the rest of the series. And I think that would have been really special if I could have remembered more about them rather than, I know I've heard that name before. But this book focuses on Moraine and Lan, which are two characters that I really enjoy. I loved a lot of the Lan moments in this book. It was really good, and I just loved getting to see him before he became a warder. Unfortunately, I did not like Moraine in this book. Young Moraine is a jerk, and I don't like her. I really enjoyed her character arc in the main series, and she was one of my favorite female characters before she died. I know, cry. So in the end, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a worthwhile addition to the series, but there were still some things that irked me. And I think that's going to be a theme for this series is there are definitely parts that I enjoy, but there are definitely things that annoy me. So I wanted to talk about some of my more general thoughts about the series as well, some of the things that really stood out to me during this chunk of reading. One of the things that I think is really a detriment to the series is that it's a little bit too big. There's too much stuff going on, and Robert Jordan really isn't able to carry the momentum in such a way that I feel emotionally invested in the story. I do feel emotionally attached to some of the certain characters, but the overall plot is really hard for me to care about right now. We have this prophecy of this hero who's supposed to arise and defeat this Dark One, and for quite a few books now, I feel like everyone has forgotten that the Dark One is coming, that anything bad is supposed to happen. There aren't really any inklings of, like, things aren't the way they're supposed to be. There were a lot of those in the beginning section of the series, and I feel like not including those in the slog is one of the things that made it difficult, because now I feel like we're in a story about a whole bunch of people who are trying to politically scheme to get power and take over countries, and it's a power struggle story, which can be great and interesting, but the story that I was promised in the beginning of the series was a hero's journey about a chosen one going to defeat the Dark One, and I don't feel like that main plot point was really addressed a whole lot in this section of the series, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why myself and a lot of other people have a difficult time with this beginning, or this middle section. I know in my last video I talked about how I appreciated how big and ambitious this world is, and I think it would have been a lot better if we could have just taken it down another couple notches, and I'm really hopeful that the Wheel of Time TV show adaptation will do a good job of kind of trimming down on the number of characters and the number of side plots to a more core story that will make it even more enjoyable for all of us who are going to be watching it. I did notice that Robert Jordan has kind of an obsession with some things. I know in the last video I talked a lot about certain phrases that he uses again and again and again and again that get kind of annoying. When I was reading New Spring, it brought a couple things into sharp focus in my mind that are a little bit disturbing, and that is the obsession with nudity and spanking. A lot of the way that the women in this story handle power struggles is with punishment, and they're always spanking, hitting, thinking about spanking, thinking about hitting other women and men when these people stand up to them or disagree with them or dare to have an independent thought. We have a big world with lots of different cultures. We have people that have magic and powers and people who have a lot of political power and authority, yet everybody just wants to spank everybody. And these are grown adults wanting to spank other grown adults, and I just find that weird. The other thing is the nudity component. Now, there are some instances in this series where the nudity is something that doesn't bother me and I think makes total sense, and that has to do with the wise ones, because their culture does not have the same nudity taboo as the rest of society, because they were kind of off by themselves in the Aiel, in the desert. And I get it, he wanted to have a culture that didn't have the same sort of nudity taboo that we have in the United States. And so when you take a person from the culture that has nudity taboo and now they're interacting in a culture that doesn't care about nudity, that's going to be awkward and uncomfortable for that character, and we're going to see them in situations where they have to be less dressed than they would prefer. Got it. That makes sense. I'm totally cool with that. And it's not like descriptive about people's bodies and what they look like naked. It's just like, oh, we're going to do this thing and that person needs to be naked. And then you just move along and then You just know that they're naked and it's not like graphic or anything. But then on the rest of the continent that is part of the culture that does have a nudity taboo, there are so many instances, especially within the Aes Sedai, where they force people to be nude, and it's kind of like there's no reason that this person needs to be naked for this event to be happening, and we're just going to do it to be a jerk and make this person feel really uncomfortable. And one of these things is a lot of their ceremonies for advancing through the Aes Sedai training program. Everybody's got to be naked. You got to be naked. Sometimes it's just a couple of people that are there watching you, and sometimes you got to walk through the whole building naked. Yeah, I don't know. Why does it have to be there? It's weird. And again, from a culture that has a nudity taboo, I just thought it was weird and unnecessary. And I really, really, really hope that they cut back on the nudity from the TV show, and it's not like crazy like Game of Thrones HBO level of nudity. There's not a lot of sexual content in these books, but if you show on film a naked person every time there's a naked person in the book, there's going to be a lot of naked people, and I just prefer to have less naked people in my TV shows. Alright, moving on to some more things that I find kind of creepy and disturbing, and that's Rand's weird love triangle, star, pentagon, whatever thing is going on. So again, there's part of this that I understand and you can kind of see where Robert Jordan is trying to go, and then there's the other part of me that's like, this is creepy and disturbing. So Rand is in love with 3 women, Elaine, Avienda, and Min, and they are all in love with him. One of the big plot points of the series is Rand trying to figure out who he's in love with, and then these 3 women trying to deal with the fact that there are other women who love Rand, and so there's kind of this competition aspect. Min has a vision, and so she knows that she's going to fall in love with Rand, but she has to share him with 2 other people, so they're kind of working through that sort of a polyamorous relationship thing. For Avienda, she comes from a culture where that is the norm, to have a polyamorous relationship and to have multiple partners and to share. But for Min and Elaine, this is not a thing, and so that's a real struggle for them to try and work through that idea of having to share when their culture has a monogamous relationship as its ideal. I'm not opposed to seeing a successful polyamorous relationship, and I was kind of on board. I was like, all right, I'll give him a chance and see if he can write this in a way that's believable. The thing that I didn't like is the way that the 3 women treat Rand. They treat him as an object. They all decide together that we all love Rand, so we are all going to share him, and he doesn't have any say in the situation. Yes, they all know that he's conflicted and he cares about all of them, but he is not giving a choice at all in the relationships. And there is a part where Rand is specifically trying to avoid Elaine, and he tells Min specifically, I don't want to see her. I'm not ready to confront her with all this other stuff that's going on in my life. I can't handle the emotional angst of seeing her, especially they didn't part on good terms. But no, the 3 ladies decide to contrive a meeting, force Rand to confront Elaine, who has decided Rand has slept with these other 2 ladies. I need to sleep with him because I haven't slept with him yet, and he's going to sleep with me whether he wants to or not. And I'm not cool with that. I do not like Elaine or Avienda. I have not liked them for a long time because of the way that they treat Rand, and now Min is complicit in this, and now I have a really hard time liking Min, even though she is the least possessive objectifying of the group. Now, this kind of objectification of one of the people in a relationship is not a known in the fantasy genre. You usually flip the other way, where the man is treating the woman as an object, but that's also disturbing and not okay, and I really just don't like it. Don't like it. Not cool with it. I'm at the point where it's just like, I would be okay if Rand dies and they're all miserable, because I think they deserve to be miserable just a little bit for what they did to Rand. Alright, lastly, I want to talk about Nynaeve, and she was a character that I had a very difficult time with through the first section of this series in, again, the way that she treats people and doesn't treat people very nicely. She treats everybody like they're stupid idiots and that she knows how to run their life better than they do. But we get a very drastic personality change in her when she marries Lan. After she gets married to Lan, she is so much nicer. I enjoy her so much more as a character, and I'm so happy that she has changed. I don't know why she changed. There is no reason why she should have this drastic personality change just because she got married. I don't know. None of the Aes Sedai seem to do that, because some of the Aes Sedai do get married and they do have orders, and they don't have this drastic personality change. It's something totally outside of the realm of what I would expect from an Aes Sedai, but I like it, so I'm not going to complain that it's kind of a flimsy thing. Overall, it was definitely the Slog, and I'm totally cool with lumping all these books into the Slog section of the series. I'm very hopeful that I am moving out of the Slog, and hopefully things will get better and we'll start to get more of the things that I really enjoy of the series. Like any series, there's going to be things that aren't perfect, that you don't like or you wish were done differently or not included. And hey, you know, if you enjoyed some of the things that I really didn't like about the series, that's fine. Enjoy it. They're just books, and we can enjoy and not enjoy different parts. So let me know down in the comment section below, how long did it take you to read through The Wheel of Time the first time you read it? If you're like me and you're on your first read through, let me know what book are you on and how long has it taken you to get there.